Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are following a stream of consciousness, and I mean that quite literally.
Yeah.
We're exploring one of the most, well, profound philosophical mysteries in our sources. We're plunging into samsara, the endless cycle of rebirth.
Mhm.
And the core question we're asking for you today, it's a pretty logical one, really.
Yeah.
Does this whole process have a guaranteed endpoint? And maybe even more fundamentally, does it have a beginning we can actually point to?
It's such a crucial question. And the sources, they're incredibly specific about what happens right at the moment of death. We're not talking about some permanent soul, a fixed thing moving around.
Right.
Instead, the teaching describes this continuum, an immediate transfer, actually. They call it the flow of consciousness or the mind stream.
That distinction, flow versus like a fixed entity, it's so critical, isn't it? But let's be honest, sometimes it can sound a bit like semantic gymnastics if you're just listening casually.
Yeah, I get that.
If I, the person, I'm conditioned by my deeds, my consciousness flows into the next life. Isn't that just a fancy way of saying my soul moved on? Why is this difference between a fixed entity and a continuous process so important?
Well, because entity implies something permanent, something at the core identity that stays the same.
Okay.
Whereas this is vijnana, consciousness,
Yeah.
and it's defined strictly as a process. It's totally conditional, completely impermanent. Think of it like a river. A river keeps its name, its course, right? But the actual water molecules, they're different from one moment to the next. It's the same idea.
So what keeps the river flowing then in this analogy?
That's vipaka karma, the results of past actions, the consequential deeds, and just the sheer momentum from the past life. It's a causal link, not like delivering a package.
Got it.
The mind stream, because it's a process, not a substance, it just immediately links up with whatever conditions are right for the next life.
Okay, that helps clarify the how it travels. So our mission for this deep dive then is to see where this river, this conditional consciousness actually leads.
Right.
We'll first try to trace the causes, keeping the flow moving, then identify the guaranteed stop nibbana, and finally, we have to wrestle with that really big mystery. Its supposedly unfindable origin, what the sources call animataga.
Exactly. And to keep that flow of samsara going, you need an engine, sort of cosmological engine.
Okay.
And that engine is Paticcasamuppada, dependent origination. This is really the bedrock of the whole teaching.
Right.
Everything that arises because it depends on something else. Nothing just exists on its own. Everything is conditioned. The cycle basically feeds itself.
And if that's the engine, the perpetual motion machine, what's the fuel? What's the raw stuff keeping the reaction going?
Yeah.
Our sources are very specific here, aren't they? Two main ingredients.
They are. The first is Avijja, fundamental ignorance.
Ignorance.
And crucially, this isn't just like not knowing stuff. It's the specific ignorance of the Four Noble Truths.
Yeah.
Not understanding suffering, its cause, its end, and the path to end it.
Oh.
If you misunderstand reality at that basic level, you're bound to react to it, well, incorrectly.
And that fundamental misunderstanding, that Avijja, it immediately sets up the conditions for the second ingredient, right?
Yeah.
The one we all know pretty well. Tanha.
Exactly, Tanha. Craving,
Mm-hmm.
attachment. Because Avijja stops you seeing that everything conditioned is impermanent.
You want it anyway.
You want it.
Yeah,
You
right.
crave pleasure, you crave existence, you even crave non-existence sometimes. And it's that active craving, that grasping, that generates the energy the karma needed for the cycle to turn just one more time. And boom, a new birth.
This is where those analogies from the source material really help, I think. They make it less abstract, like thinking about the continuity as the transfer of a flame from one candle wick to the next.
That's a great one.
You use the old flame to light the new one, but the flame itself isn't some single thing being cast along, is it? It's just the transmission of heat and light energy.
Exactly. Or the other powerful one is the wave. A persistent wave in the ocean.
Yeah.
It looks like a distinct thing traveling across the water, right? But it's just energy moving through the water, kinetic energy being transmitted. As long as the conditions are right in the ocean, or in our case, as long as Avijja and Tanha are present,
The wave keeps going.
the energy keeps moving, ensuring the cycle of birth and death, samsara, continues, potentially indefinitely.
Yeah,
It's frankly exhausting just thinking about how long that's supposed to be going on.
it really is. Which brings us to the big question you've probably been waiting for. If this energy flow is so persistent, seemingly endless, can it actually be stopped? Does this deep dive confirm a definite stop?
Yes. Unequivocally, yes.
Mm-hmm.
The source material is crystal clear. The flow does have a definitive endpoint. It's called Nirvana.
Nirvana.
Okay, Nirvana. Let's define that based on our sources. What exactly happens? What's achieved when someone reaches this endpoint?
It's the complete extinguishing of kilesa, the defilements.
Ah, the
That fire analogy works perfectly here. Nirvana isn't some place you go, like a heaven. It's the fire going out completely.
Yeah.
And you achieve that by rooting out those specific fuel sources we mentioned. Avijja, ignorance,
Right.
Tanha, craving, and the result of that, upadana, which is grasping or clinging.
Okay.
When those causes are totally eradicated, there's simply no basis left for any future existence. The fuel's gone.
And it's important for you, listening, to know this isn't just like a switch flipped at the moment of death. The enlightened person, the arahant, they actually stop this internal cycle in 2 stages while they're still alive.
That's right. Stage 1, the immediate, life-altering realization, is Paticcasamuppada.
Saupatisi.
Yeah. Extinguishing the defilements while the arahant is still living, still walking around. The body is still there, the khandhas, the 5 aggregates, form, feeling, perception, mental formations, consciousness, they're all still operating.
So wait, if the body and all those aggregates are still there, why doesn't that just restart the cycle? How is the process considered stopped?
Because the arahant is no longer attached to them. They're not generating any new fuel.
I see.
The aggregates only exist because of leftover old karma from the past that produced this particular life, but the mind, completely free of Tanha upadana. They're basically walking around with the whole mechanism deactivated.
Okay, that makes sense. And the second stage, the final permanent stop.
That's anupadisi-nibbana, often called parinibbana, final death, essentially.
Right.
Because the arahant has already destroyed all the fuel, all the karma and kilesa that would generate a future life when those remaining khandhas finally break apart at death. Well, the flow of consciousness that would normally link to a new birth is just permanently arrested.
The fire's out.
The fire is out, and there's no wick left. No transfer possible.
So, okay, we have a guaranteed endpoint. Clearly defined, makes logical sense within the system. Which naturally brings us to the other side of the coin, the much trickier question. If we know exactly how it ends, where did this whole flow of the mind stream even begin?
And this is where the teaching gets really profound and deliberately a bit paradoxical. The sources state very clearly, Samsara has no definable starting point. Trying to find the origin is literally impossible. Not just difficult, like finding an old fossil. Impossible. The term they use is animataga.
Animataga, meaning that which has no discernible beginning or end. Wow, that's a seriously mind-bending concept.
It is.
It implies this cycle stretches back infinitely, countless lives, countless eons. This sheer amount of past suffering is just immeasurable.
Precisely. And that leads to the next really crucial point. Not only can't the beginning be found, but you're actually warned against searching for it.
Wait, warned against it? Why would a teaching advise against seeking the origin of existence? That feels counterintuitive, doesn't it? Especially from a Western perspective where finding the first cause is often seen as, the ultimate goal.
It does feel counterintuitive at first, but there are 2 key reasons why the sources say searching for that first moment is unproductive, even harmful.
Okay, what are they?
The first is just mechanical, based on what we've already discussed. The process is a circle, right? Paticcasamuppada.
Dependent origination.
Yeah, it's a self-sustaining loop of conditionality. If you're looking at a closed loop, trying to find the first bit, it's logically impossible. Where does a circle begin? It's not aligned with a start and an end. It's a self-driving system.
Okay, logically impossible within the system's own rules. What's the second reason?
The second is that famous warning. The sources explicitly list searching for the origin as one of the unthinkable matters, the alintia.
Unthinkable. That elevates it from just like a waste of time to something actively problematic.
It does. The texts warn that getting tangled up in that kind of deep cosmological speculation, especially using just our ordinary logic and limited perspective, inevitably leads to confusion, frustration, and a whole bunch of unhelpful, fixed ideas, what they call dithy wrong views.
Can you give an example? What kind of speculation were they worried about people getting into?
Oh, absolutely. The text specifically mentioned groups back then called the Paticcasamuppada.
Okay.
These were people who spent all their time speculating about how the world and existence began. They'd come up with these intricate theories, was it created by a god? Did it just pop up spontaneously?
Right, the big questions.
The big questions. But the problem wasn't the effort itself. It was that these theories, because they lacked any experiential proof, the kind of proof only an enlightened mind could supposedly have, they were just pure guesswork. And Getting lost in that process, it pulls your energy away from the actual task at hand, which is getting free from suffering now. And it often leads to dogmatism, clinging to your pet theory, or even in some cases real mental distress from trying to grasp something fundamentally ungraspable with the wrong tools.
So the core message becomes, forget the origin. It's irrelevant to your current suffering and your potential freedom. The focus has to shift entirely from when it all started to why it's still going, right here, right now.
Exactly. The focus must be 100% on cutting the causes of Avijja and Tanha at this present moment, because that's the only place you actually have any agency, any power to change things.
That's philosophically powerful, but okay, let's play skeptic for a second. We have to address the big logical counter-argument. If we can't see the beginning, if we can't verify that start point, how can we be absolutely sure that destroying the fuel of Avijja and Tanha really does stop the flow permanently? We're being asked to trust this mechanism ends without ever seeing how it began.
That is a perfectly fair challenge, and that's precisely why the sources put such a massive emphasis on verification. Not historical proof, but present moment proof.
Okay.
The proof rests on two principles: Akadam, personal realization, and idappaccayata, conditionality.
Conditionality.
Right, which basically translates to, when this exists, that exists. When this ceases, that ceases. It's the law of cause and effect in action.
So we prove the end by showing what happens when we remove the cause now, in this life.
Precisely. Think about it. You don't need to find the origin of the very first fire ever lit on Earth to know, with certainty, that if you stop throwing logs on your fireplace today, that fire will eventually go out.
Right. The mechanism is proven by observing the immediate conditional link. Knowledge of the ultimate origin is totally irrelevant to stopping the fire right here.
That's the power of that fire fuel analogy again. We stop adding the fuel, the kilesa now. When the current fuel runs out, the flame stops being transmitted. The result is verifiable right here, right now, by anyone who does the work.
And the ultimate proof then, the gold standard of verification.
That's the direct experiential evidence of the errant while they're still alive and breathing. The sources say this realization is ehipassiko, which means come and see for yourself, verify it directly. The errant personally sees, feels, knows the total lack of attachment to those five aggregates. They realize firsthand that they are no longer creating any new karma that would lead to a future birth.
So in that very moment of realization while still living, the flow is demonstrably cut. They've proven through their own lived freedom from craving that the cause is gone, which guarantees that when death per nibbana finally comes, the whole process just stops for good.
So if we bring this all together, what you end up with is this really profound balance. Samsara, the cycle, is anammataga. No discernible beginning, stretching back infinitely. Seems hopeless, right?
Yeah, initially.
But it has a definite, provable, guaranteed endpoint, nirvana.
The ultimate takeaway here, it seems, is that getting lost in philosophical speculation about the distant past is, well, a kind of luxury we can't afford if liberation is the goal.
Absolutely.
The core teaching is disregard the historical origin. It's irrelevant to ending suffering. Instead, focus all your attention, all your energy on those active causes right here in the present, Avijja and Tanha, ignorance and craving.
So maybe the final thought we can leave you with from this deep dive is this. The really important question isn't, when did this endless flow of my consciousness actually begin?
Right.
The truly vital question is, how many times today did I consciously or maybe unconsciously choose to add more fuel, more tanha, more craving to the fire of my own next rebirth?